Good morning. Welcome to another Emsi webinar. This morning we're going to be discussing really the strategy behind building your degree apprenticeship, but using robust evidence, as obviously the title of the webinar suggests. We're going to have a guest speaker with us today, who is Resham Gill from Birmingham City University, with Andy Durman, Emsi Managing Director. So without any further ado, I would like to hand over to Andy, who is our presenter today. So good morning, Andy.
Morning, Debbie. Thank you very much. And hello, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm very excited to have Resham join us today. I'm very grateful for that. Thank you very much. So I want to take a couple of moments just to quickly introduce Emsi for any new viewers today, just to tell you a little bit about our work and our focus, particularly in relation to the work in the higher education and particularly relating to apprenticeship development, exciting new, relatively new area. And then I'd love to hand over to Resham to share some of the work that Birmingham City University are doing on this topic before taking back to share a few further items with you. Should add, if you've got any questions, feel free to type them into the panel box, the question panel box. We will revisit those at the end of the webinar, questions for myself or Resham. As you think of them, type them in, and then we will review those at the end. So once again, thank you very much for joining us, and thanks to Resham. So just a quick introduction to Emsi. So for those who don't know us, we exist to help you, your organizations, and those that you support make better decisions, specifically when it relates to the labor market, through providing detailed, usable insight about the labor market. We're working across a range of sectors, particularly education, further and higher education, through helping colleges and universities understand the employment landscape and how they link into that and can support that dimension, and how they can help prospective and current students access successful careers. We're doing a lot of work also with the economic development agenda, particularly through LEPs and local authorities. Some of that's an extension of the skills agenda, particularly as devolution and skills devolution takes hold. But also starting to think about the value that those skills play in the workforce and attracting businesses to help thriving, growing economies. So very exciting activities. From a university-specific perspective, the big challenge, of course, is a big focus on employability, teaching excellence framework, student fees and returns on investment, and obviously apprenticeships are a fantastic driver to a lot of that employment-focused higher level education, and is the focus for today's conversation. So forgive me for those that are regular viewers. I'm just going to cover a couple of older pieces, but just useful to set up Resham's presentation. We've set out what we think, based on our work with the sector and our knowledge of labour market information and our experience in this space, that there are kind of three core routes to success for universities. First, of course, being many institutions already have an offer of a handful of standards, if not more, some more developed than others. And of course, one aspect of that is just maximizing those opportunities. So where they may be developed through one or two key relationships, who else in your locality needs what you can offer them, and how do you unlock that? Growth then is all about thinking about broadening your offer. And so now that you've worked hard to build that infrastructure, the wonders of ILR data returns, which I'm sure Resham is always grateful for. Now we have those systems in place, we have customers, we have standards, everyone gets excited and wants to bring more through. So how do we make sure we're prioritizing our growth strategy around where demand is likely to be greatest for us to unlock? And then our aim and our ambition is to help universities really be market-led and really start to think, as the system grows, more standards coming on all the time, Are we really knowledgeable about the economy and the needs of our economy such that we can use that to really shape our growth? And excitingly, how do we see apprenticeships as a catalyst for broadening the university offer in general and be a real driver to engagement and growth, as opposed to simply just responding to current strengths or historic strengths? So very exciting times when we see that labour market information is a critical piece in building that knowledge of what is happening in the economy. Ultimately, apprenticeships are all about jobs. So we need to know where the jobs are, where they're locked up, what types of companies employ them, and make sure that we are planning effectively and efficiently, making sure we're focusing on the right activities, engaging the right people, and setting our systems up internally to maximize success. So on to our main event for today, and want to welcome Resham once again to today's webinar. Birmingham City University are doing some really exciting things in this space, and love for Resham to share just some of his experiences. Emsi have been supporting Resham through the provision of some information around the regional labour market that has helped shape some of that thinking, and aligns very nicely to the 3 steps that we've been talking about. So I want to hand over to Resham to introduce himself and to just share a few experiences with the wider group. I'm very grateful for that. Thank you very much, Resham.
Thank you, Andy. I'm Resham Gill. I'm the Higher Apprenticeship Manager here at Birmingham City University. What I'm going to do this morning is first of all, give you a little bit of background information about myself, and then I'll talk about Birmingham City University, and then I'll talk about the work that we've been doing with Emsi over the last 12 months or so. I've been working in vocational education and training for a long time. I actually joined the Manpower Services Commission after leaving school, then sort of went on to work for a training and enterprise council here in Birmingham, and then worked for Birmingham and Solihull Learning and Skills Council. All those organisations were strategic planning organisations that put a lot of emphasis on using labour market information to sort of inform their strategies. So that sort of informed my philosophy about approaching the whole sort of skills and apprenticeship agenda. I've seen lots of government programmes, good ones and bad ones. But in terms of apprenticeships, my experience goes back to the early sort of youth programs, which were the Youth Opportunities Scheme and Youth Training Scheme, that sort of started evolving into what we have today, which I call 21st century apprenticeships. Prior to working at Birmingham City Council, I was the skills manager at Wolverhampton Council. My responsibilities were about developing a skills and apprenticeship strategy for the city of Wolverhampton, and I had a team of people that were actually developing skills strategies for the key sectors for the city. That was very interesting work that brought us into contact with the major employers in the city, looking at what their workforce plans were and what their skills gaps were and what their plans were for developing apprenticeships. Moving on from Wolverhampton Council, I got really excited about the advent of sort of degree apprenticeships in particular. Having worked on level 2 and level 3 apprenticeships in all this time, something that we've always strived to achieve called parity of esteem between vocational education and academic education, we've never really been as close as we are today. I think I'm a big fan of degree apprenticeships, so I was really sort of excited to take up the post of Higher Apprenticeship Manager here at Birmingham City University in January 2016. But one of the things I became very conscious of was that moving back from Wolverhampton to Birmingham, there was a sort of real lack of robust labour market information that I could utilise to sort of inform our skills strategy. And this is where I first came across Emsi at a UVAC conference and found out about the expertise and knowledge that they've got about the local labour market. I have worked on lots of skills plans in the past, and there are some cynics that believe that it's difficult forecasting, but my own personal view is it's very, very dangerous to make strategy based on being data blind. So I've always felt getting robust labour market information can help you inform your strategies. And that's actually where we were in my early days. We were looking at developing an apprenticeship strategy, but the key first step was to really understand the local labour market. Okay, Andy. So let me just tell you a little bit about Birmingham City University. Here in the centre of Birmingham, we're very proud to call ourselves the University for Birmingham. Most of the students that come here are local students from Birmingham and the West Midlands region. We do, like other universities, have an international presence, but one of the things is we see a key role for ourselves in working with local employers and local communities in meeting their needs. We are very much industry focused as an organisation. In fact, a couple of years ago, we looked at all our curriculum to see how well it meets the needs of the local economy and local employers. It was a process called transforming the curriculum. So part of that was to make sure that we are preparing graduates for the requirements of local industry. We work very closely with professional bodies. We have over 50 industry and professional bodies that we're working with currently. Employability skills is important to all universities, but it's actually built into the curriculum here to support the work of the careers and employment team. So in terms of our history of delivering apprenticeships, it goes back to 2012 when we worked in partnership with the University of Salford, delivering an old style apprenticeship framework for the BBC. And then in 2016, we tendered for that contract in our own right. So we're currently running that broadcast technology program for the BBC. And we're hoping that will become an apprenticeship standard fairly shortly. Looking forward to our offer in 2018, we hope to be offering 8 higher and degree apprenticeships in September 2018. Okay, Andy. So in terms of our partnership working with Emsi, what we needed Emsi to do was to sort of take a detailed look at the labour market in the West Midlands area, to look at those sectors that are growing, to look at where the occupational growth is, so that we could align the strengths of the university to the sort of marketplace. So what Emsi have done, if they've made our job really easy, because what they've done is they've used a whole variety of different data sources and produced a very, very detailed and unique insight for us. And what they've actually done is given us some real solid numbers. So it's actually not guesswork. So for instance, with construction, they've looked at the chartered surveyor and given us what the sort of occupational expansion has been, and they've done a forward estimate of what the jobs growth will be for chartered surveyors for us. So really what we've ended up with is a very, very detailed understanding of the West Midlands regional economy. It's enabled us to identify degree apprenticeship occupations that are sort of sweet spots for graduate entry occupations, which is where our degree apprenticeship strategy is focused. And it's given us an opportunity to sort of prioritise our efforts in the areas where the regional economy is growing, so we can maximise our targeting and maximise our impact with the advent of degree apprenticeships. Okay, Andy? Right, so the robust evidence base that Emsi produced for us gave us a real insight into degree apprenticeship, which ones we should focus on. We knew all about the industries and the key sectors. It gave us an insight into the workforce analysis, including a look at the demography, unemployment levels, and it highlighted the high number of people with low skills within the West Midlands region. Birmingham in particular has got certain neighbourhoods that have got lots of people with no qualifications or low qualifications, and a lack of people with higher level qualifications, which is obviously going to lead to sort of skills gaps as employers are looking for higher and higher level skills. But the beauty of the work for me really was that what Emsi have done is they've focused in on 4 occupations that we can really sort of target to grow our degree apprenticeship portfolio. And what we did was, once the report had been completed, that report was presented to our apprenticeship steering group. That's key sort of senior managers within the university. But one of the things we picked up was the people who are actually down on the ground also needed an awareness of the market as well. So Andy came along and met our course directors, and we had a very interesting sort of discussion about the needs of the market and our curriculum, and how course directors can take the degree apprenticeship agenda forward. Okay, Andy? So the 4 occupations that Emsi have identified for us is medical technicians, huge growth potential there in that market. Paramedic, there's not actually an apprenticeship standard that we can focus on, but we are very, very keen to work in that area because we have some very, very good relationships with the NHS. And I think in a meeting earlier on this week, we were talking about the acute shortage of nursing. So that just shows how the labour market sort of does move on. So as we're looking ahead to 2019 and looking at the impact of Brexit, although we've got this robust analysis from Emsi, that doesn't mean to say that, you know, we're not talking to employers and sort of building on the knowledge that Emsi have given us. But the real star for us in terms of the Emsi report was an area where we've got a curriculum strength is in quantity surveying, and the market analysis showed that there's going to be a gap of about 1,700 quantity surveyors in the region. So that course has been very popular. So employers have been ringing us up, showing an interest in that. And we've actually got about 20 employers who are already on the waiting list for the September 2018 course. So that just shows that what Emsi have done is they've really sort of latched on to where the market potential is. And then production managers in engineering, that's another one that was highlighted. And we did have an employer who approached us in January to see if we could sort of lay on a postgraduate engineer degree apprenticeship for them. And I was pleased to say our engineering department reacted very, very quickly, and we've got apprentices on that programme now. Thanks, Andy. So how do degree apprenticeships look at the university at the moment? The work that we're undertaking at the moment, assistant practitioner in health, like a lot of other universities, we've been running that programme since 2015. It's a very strong programme, and that's going ahead. We've just started 50 nursing associates in April, and we've got we're expecting another 50 to start in October. Chartered surveyor, I think we're going to be having about 40 on programme by September 2018. Postgraduate engineer, we're hoping to grow that, given the sort of skills gaps in engineering in the region. Broadcast engineer, we're hoping that the standard comes on board so we can keep working with broadcast employers like the BBC. Chartered manager degree apprenticeship, that's been quite popular, and we're hoping to grow that in 2018 again. Although a lot of our neighbouring universities are also offering that as well. And then one where we've got a bit of a unique selling point is the internal audit professional. There's not a lot of universities that are offering an MSc in that area, so we've worked with the Trailblazer to help develop that level 7 apprenticeship, and we hope to be delivering that in September. And another one where we've got a USP is the rehabilitation worker visual impairment. There was a real need there. Local authorities who've been using our sort of foundation degree obviously wanted to use their levy, and this was one area they wanted to use their levy. So a colleague of mine has worked with a Trailblazer to help develop that with Guide Dogs for the Blind, and we've got a strong interest in that apprenticeship. So hopefully there'll be 20 people on that in September 2018. So where do we go from here? We work with Midlands Enterprise Universities groups that work across the East and West Midlands. And what we're looking for is areas where we as universities can work collectively. So one of the things I've been able to share with the group is the fact that we've got a good relationship with Emsi, and that it would be really helpful to just a market analysis to sort of aid the other universities within that group. So hopefully that will be taking off soon. We're continuing to monitor market trends. Birmingham in particular has got a very, very buoyant economy at the moment, and just up the road, Coventry has got City of Culture status. So the region hopefully is in a good place. HS2 station will be built across the road from the sort of university campus here. So we're very, very excited about the jobs growth that HS2 will bring to us. Birmingham will be hosting the Commonwealth Games in 2022. So hopefully that will not only bring a lot of tourism to the city, but hopefully it will create a lot of jobs for people in the region. HSB have already relocated to Birmingham, bringing about 1,000 jobs. So hopefully the university is well placed to help them with their sort of higher and degree apprenticeship offer. And obviously, although Emsi have given us a really good understanding of the labour market and about where we should focus our effort, you know, we are in uncertain times with the sort of future policy about apprenticeships. Obviously, you will all be aware of the funding review that's going to take place at the moment. That could have an impact on our future offer. I've already mentioned Brexit. I mentioned the fact that the NHS are already telling us that, you know, some of the nurses that are working in the NHS are already going home to their home countries. So it's going to be interesting for us in terms of supporting the NHS with their sort of recruitment needs for nurses. And then Channel 4, like Bristol, Leeds and Manchester, we're all hoping that they might relocate to Birmingham. And obviously relocating here, they're going to need help with their high level skills. So hopefully, as a university that's employer focused, we'll be in a good position to work with them. That's basically all I wanted to say. If there's any questions, I'm happy to take them.
Thank you very much, Resham. That's really interesting. Yeah, some really exciting work that's going on at Birmingham City. Really enjoyed the work with you, Resham, on some of these items. I think your point about the unknowns and the next steps is really interesting, and probably reinforces a lot of what we're now talking about with you and your colleagues, Resham, which is that whilst drawing a line in the sand is a great way to get going, of course, the world does change, the environment, the policy environment, the labour market environment, the economic environment changes, the competitive landscape changes. And so I think this reinforces why this is one of those things we certainly advocate becomes part of what you do in your everyday thinking and planning and updating, rather than necessarily just that line in the sand, which was a great place for us to start. And I know we have conversations later on next month to explore that further. But I think that's a really good point. But some good work there. I had a question for you, Resham, and I'll have a look at the question panel to see if I can see if there are any questions from the audience today, but how has this been received in the wider university? So the degree apprenticeship agenda per se, but then maybe some of the analysis that you've been doing and we've been supporting you with. Is it something that is, you know, just part of your mission, and so it's a nice way forward for the university, or have you had to kind of battle some challenges at all internally?
I think it's, I mean, the apprenticeship agenda lends itself very nicely to a university like Birmingham City. We're basically a sort of modern university with a sort of strong vocational route, with a very, very sort of strong history and work-based learning. So the whole apprenticeship agenda has been really well received. In terms of the market analysis, obviously, the Deputy Vice Chancellor, who's in charge of apprenticeships, is a part of the apprenticeship steering group. So they've taken on board the report, they've read about it, and each of the deans of the faculties have looked at what the implications for them might be. But I think that the group that's really seized onto this is the sort of the academics, to see how it impacts on the sort of curriculum development they're planning to do. So actively working on apprenticeships is probably only a small part of the 2,500 people who work in the university. But I would imagine that 100 to 150 people are actively aware of the apprenticeship agenda and the market analysis we've undertaken.
Great, it's interesting. It's interesting to hear how the apprenticeships agenda has been sort of the catalyst maybe to wider thinking in the university, which is certainly, speaking from a selfish perspective, something I'm hoping that our work in this space will help to develop as the wider world of higher education changes and the student expectations develop as such. And I think as a university, BCU are really well placed and well placed to seize on those opportunities. So thank you once again, Resham, for sharing that story. I'm sure if anyone wants to kind of connect with you directly, we can circulate your information, or they'll be able to find you one way or another. I seem to bump into you in most places nowadays, Resham. So yes, be sure to say hello to Resham when you see him out and about. Just to conclude then, just want to just share a few resources with you that might be helpful for you to explore. So we've actually produced, to help you start to understand, you know, what does the labour market look like in your area and how does it connect into the current standards. We've produced a brief little free guide localised to your region. You can request yours if you haven't done so already at the web address, or just head to the Emsi website, the Emsi UK website, go to the higher education section and the degree apprenticeship section, and you'll find that you can request this report. I recommend you do so. It should give you some good information about your local area. I mentioned the 3 steps. We actually have a small guide that details those 3 steps, and I know from talking to a number of universities is certainly a helpful framework in terms of thinking. So again, you can request that through us. My details will come up shortly. Feel free to reach out to me directly. We intend to keep a webinar series rolling and love to hear case studies like this. So hope to bring some more to you in due course. So keep an eye out on that through our webinars page, or we'll keep notifying you as the next one gets booked in. So details to follow. Of course, if what Resham was talking about and what we've been talking about over the months is resonating, you think there's something we can do to help you, then I'd absolutely love to talk to you. Really keen to just hear where you're at in your journey, what your challenges are. We have a good amount of experience and lots of information that we can tailor to solving those specific problems. Let's get together, we can kick that around. I can show you how we might be able to help. And ultimately, we're keen to come alongside you, be your guide, provide the information that you might need and help you grow your offer, and really be a real asset to your communities and drive real economic development for your regions. You've got a big role to play, and we're keen to help where we can, much like we are with Birmingham and the wider Midlands region. So there's my details.
Andy, before you get off, could you just answer a question for me? We have a question that's been posed. How much further does the Emsi analysis go than the LEP analysis of growth industries?
Cool, thank you. Yeah, so we the building blocks for our data actually are local authority sort of borough level. So we can dig pretty darn deep into localized economies, and we can aggregate them back up to relevant regions, service regions, target regions. From a planning perspective, having a broad view of the economy, I think, is important. But I think something Resham and I will be talking about when we next get together, actually thinking about targeting. Resham mentioned it, and really starting to pinpoint where those employers are, where that need is, needs us to dig a lot deeper. And so the data we hold allows us to dig down to that very local sort of town, borough level, city level. So hopefully that answers the question.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Good. So I think we're done. I want to say thank you very much to Resham again for joining us, and thank you to you guys for tuning in for the half an hour. Hope you enjoyed it. Love to hear your feedback on these. Please do get in touch. Otherwise, I'll wish you a fantastic bank holiday weekend. Enjoy the rain.